Holy smokes. My life just changed over the weekend, and I've got to share with you how my belief ceiling was shattered, what went down at the Arete Syndicate 5-year celebration at Andy Frisella's house, and the formula for how you can be a lifetime student. What's good? It's Rob Cressy, and welcome to Built for the Game, where we talk about the systems for creating a better life. And what I'm about to share is probably the most important and impactful podcast of my entire life. One that is going to be chocked full of incredible value, as well as some life-changing stories and perspectives. And this is coming on the heels of just getting back 48 hours ago from St. Louis, where I received the Be a Lifetime Student Core Value Award given to me by Andy Frisella and Ed Mylett at the Arete Syndicate celebration. So let me give a quick backstory because we got a lot of goodness ahead. Number one, 5 years ago, I joined Andy Frisella and Ed Mylett's Arete Syndicate when it was first created right out of the gate. They had one landing page. It didn't give you much. And I said, you know what? I love these guys' podcasts. I love to learn from the best. Sign me up. Even if I have no idea what I'm about to do, I'm along for the journey. So I've been a part of this since the inception of this. And every month we get a series of 3 calls, one from Andy, one from Ed, and a Q&A every single month for the last 5 years. And for me, I take this very seriously because I'm learning from the best in the world. And I do not take this lightly, that a lot of success is auditing success, the people that you aspire to be like or do things like. And when they're willing to pour into you and give you their knowledge and wisdom so you can not have to make the same mistakes that they did, or they can help you get somewhere faster, I'm going to learn. I'm all in. So I'm showing up to every single live call, or as many as I can. I'm watching every single video. I'm taking notes from every single video. I'm implementing at the speed of instruction, and I'm doing this every single week for 5 years straight. So what was it? Probably 3 weeks ago, I get an email that says, hey, we're throwing a celebration just for the members of the Arete Syndicate who have been there for 5 years since the very beginning. It is at Andy Frisella's house in St. Louis. The attire is wear a suit, or for females, a cocktail dress. And I was like, holy smokes, life just gave me one of the best blessings ever. Of course I'm going to do this. So boom, I respond and say, I'm coming, and I am incredibly excited. Just the opportunity to go to Andy's house and maybe meet him or Ed or whatever else happens, I don't care, because I'm just excited for this experience. So I get there and I fly to St. Louis on Friday, which is about, 48 hours ago. I fly there Friday morning and get to the hotel. The event is from, let's call it 5 or 6 until 9 or 10. And I'm suited and booted. On occasion, I can get all dressed up and look good. We get on a shuttle bus. They check our IDs, their security, to drive up to Andy's house. And for anyone who's followed Andy on Instagram, we know what his house looks like. He's got those pillars. He lives at the house of a former president. It's something that I'm just excited to experience in general. We step off the shuttle and we're greeted by saying, hey, no cell phones, no pictures. And Arete means excellence. This is a group of the 1% of the 1%, the best in the world, that we live by a standard of action in all that we do. And Arete is the greatest entrepreneurial force for good in the world, that we as entrepreneurs have the ability to shape and positively change the world, especially when we come from specific core values of, and I'm paraphrasing, doing things the right way. So obviously, no pictures, no cell phones. That's not a problem for this group, because we're just happy to be there and to experience this. And there's a reason why there's no photos or cell phones here, because this event is being held at Andy Frisella's garage. And when I say garage, I encourage you to think garage like Jay Leno's garage or Batman's garage or Tony Stark's garage, where all their luxury cars are. So we walk in and it was unlike anything I've ever experienced or seen in my entire life. Along the right side, and I'm estimating here, were 10 luxury supercars. The nicest, most expensive, most badass cars you have ever seen in your entire life, ever. It's just like straight out of a fantasy movie. It was unbelievable to see that. And then there was 10 tables in the middle. And then on the left side, there was 10 of the dopest luxury supercars you have ever seen in your life. So I don't know how much these things cost. I'm a guy, I like cars. I'm not a supercar guy, but like I sit in this and you're like, oh my goodness. So how much is the value in this room? I don't know. 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. I can't even tell you how much these cars are worth because they're the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. That's where all of this thing is going down. So immediately, within 1 second, my belief ceiling of what is possible is shattered just by walking into Andy Frisella's garage. And I know that this is an experience where I'm going to be there for maybe 4 hours. So I am soaking in everything. I'm looking at every single little detail because Andy, like he does in everything that he does, is so meticulous and there's so much excellence everywhere. And I want to soak it in from the details to the trim to the you name it. Yeah, the cars are amazing, but to me, this is the manifestation of someone's dreams coming to life. And it was a piece of art. That's the best way that I can say it. It is the most beautiful art that I've ever seen, just everything that he put together. And this alone inspired me because what one man can create, so can another. In being surrounded by all of these cars and then seeing the man who made all of it happen right there in conversation with you, it just put everything into perspective. So there's about, I'm going to estimate 100 people from Arete who are all there, all members who have been there for 5 years since the very beginning. And the thing I love about this community is the community, the standard. So new friends immediately became champions for each other. Old friends immediately reconnected and say, how can I help? Wins were celebrated. Challenging times were met with solutions and possibilities. And this was a room where you step in and immediately the conversation is elevated. There is no BS. There is everyone there to help each other. And these are the rooms that I crave, that I love, because I'm a go-giver and I'm a high performer. And I love being around other people who are like this. It's in an entrepreneurial journey, so many of us, we seek out groups and communities like this because we look around and there's not a lot of people like us around in our life, in our physical life. So digitally, we become part of these communities, and then we go to live events and we deepen these relationships. And I just loved the depth of the conversation that was there. The standard that Arete brings of excellence rings so true. It is the people that just astound me. So yes, I'm astounded by the supercars and everything that Andy created. But just being in a room of absolute excellence, man, that just inspired me so much. And Andy at the very beginning does a quick little speech, and I'm paraphrasing. He's like, hey, we're here to celebrate you. You've believed in us since the very beginning for the last 5 years. Let's celebrate. Let's have a good time. Open bar. My humidor's open. Grab a cigar. Go enjoy yourself. And he was the most gracious person possible, which also inspires me that a lot of times when you think about wealth, oh, what's someone going to be like when they get some money? Well, what they often say is you're more of who you already are. And Andy was so gracious to open up his home, and shout out to Emily Frisella as well. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with her, And I went up and introduced myself to her because she leads every one of the Arete calls, and she's got such an infectious personality and a sunshine and a smile to her that, boom, when we jump on that call, there she is. And I just wanted to thank her for her contribution in the way that she inspires me to be a better husband for my wife and all these possibilities that can be created. So I thanked her for opening up their house. And we did an hour and a half or so of just networking and chopping it up, just going from person to person, saying hi, meeting people, seeing how I can help, what are your wins, all of that stuff. Then they get to a dinner, and it was top notch there. And while we were there, we're in conversation with each other. And then they say, you know what? We've got a crystal that we want to give to each of you for being a member of Arete for the last 5 years, and your name's engraved in it. And then there's like a step and repeat, and Ed Mylett and Andy are there, and you shake their hand, and you get to take a picture with both of them. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I get to meet my two mentors that have had probably the biggest impact in my entire life of two people ever outside of my immediate family. I've learned more from Andy Frisella and Ed Mylett than I have any other two humans on the face of the earth. So for me, I just want to say thank you. That is literally all I want to do, is thank them for the way that they've changed my life. And because they truly have, they've poured in so much, from Andy with 75 Hard and Live Hard, which I've completed, and Ed speaking from stage in his podcast, and all they pour into us in Arete. I just got to thank these guys just from the bottom of my heart. At the same time, as they're going through the names, they're starting alphabetically at the beginning, A, B, C, D, and I'm at R for Rob. So I'm looking up there, and people are going in, they're shaking their hands, they're taking a picture, and I'm just watching Andy and Ed because they're doing this 100 times. And I was like, you know what? I got to shoot my shot. If this is my only opportunity to really thank them and let them know what's up, and what I'm about to say, you guys are all going to be hearing for the first time because no one actually knows what I'm about to say. So I'm sitting there and I was like, listen, I got to shoot my shot when I'm up there I have 12 seconds. I got 12 seconds. Let's go. So eventually they get to the R's and they say, Rob Cressy, and I roll up, and Andy and Ed are there. And I said, listen, I have a goal of helping 10 million people. And I wanted to speak this into existence in front of both of you because I will make this happen. And I wanted to thank you for being part of my journey. And I shook both of their hands. They both said thank you to me. Boom, I'm smiling ear to ear, gave the number one, got my picture, and there I go. Because I'm a big believer in the power of language, abracadabra. I create as I speak. And if you sit there and you say, how in the world do you help 10 million people? Well, the way that I'm wired, the way that I do it is I tell the two biggest mentors in my life when I get that opportunity that that's what I'm going to do, because now I'm on the hook for that. And as I'm thinking about them, picture. Everyone's doing the same. I'm not going to say everybody's forgettable, but when you do it 100 times, it can be easy to go through the motions. Then comes the one guy who's like, by the way, I'm going to help 10 million people. Thank you for being a part of that. That's where I'm coming at from this, because that's how I am going to help 10 million people, is by speaking that into existence. So boom. Oh, baby, I'm just loving this. I'm like, this is the greatest night ever. Aside from children being born, being married, various things in my life. This is on my life bucket list, my life resume. This night could not be better. I got an opportunity earlier in the night to thank Andy for 75 Hard and Live Hard and let him know how much of an impact that had on me. So near the end of dinner, they get to this award ceremony where they're like, hey, we have a few awards that we want to give out for the core values of Arete. And this is something for me, I'm just very happy to be there with this unbelievable experience. And the first one is creating a positive impact award. And that was won by my friend Marcus Anderson. And Marcus is so deserving of this. Marcus is someone, day one, I remember him. He's a go-giver, always giving to the community. I was like, man, that is so well-deserved. Awesome job, Marcus. And for me, sitting there, I'm present in the community, but there's a lot of events that you can go to of various tier levels that you're going to pay to be a part of. And with me, living a full life, having a 2-year-old child, you name it. There's just a lot of things going on in life. I didn't attend all these events, and that's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. You can choose where you spend your time, where you spend your money. So unconsciously for me, I'm sitting there being like, I'm not on the radar because I haven't been at like every single one of these paid events that you can go to. So I'm just there for the experience and enjoying this. And they get to the Be a Lifetime Student Award. And quite frankly, I'm listening to what Emily is saying and I'm just observing the room. And then they go, and I would like to congratulate Rob Cressy. And immediately, I'm ported into the most surreal moment of my entire life, ever. I'm like, what in the world is happening right now? To hear, like, for my percentage was 0.00000 that they were going to be calling my name. Not for I don't deserve it, it's just not on my radar because I didn't think I'm on the radar. And I walk up there to receive the award, and I'm a combination of shaking, trying not to pass out, and trying not to cry in front of Andy, Ed, in a room full of 100 of the top performing people in the world. My mind has exploded, just exploded. And I get to receive the award, and it's a giant plaque given to me, and Ed Mylett's giving it to me. And there's just one word on my mind going through. It was, how? Like my belief ceiling of what is possible was shattered. I was just like, how is this possible? How did they know? Just like, obviously I know the work I put in, so I know the how, but how do they know the how? And the next 2 words that Ed said to me are going to change my life forever. I'm just like, I'm right next to Andy and Ed, and I just said, how? And Ed just gets close to my ear and he says, we know. That was it. He just said, we know. And in that moment, I had to just try not to pass out. I was like, if you can imagine 11 years of an entrepreneurial journey flashing through your mind, waking up at 5 a.m. for a decade straight, reading, doing 75 hard, live hard, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, doing all the things that no one sees ever, where you're sitting there constantly living in fear, judgment, self-limiting belief, doubt. Oh my God, I got it all figured out. Oh my God, what in the world is going on? Am I on the right track? I don't know. Every single day, just this swing of emotions of like, am I doing this right? Am I on the right path? And to get the recognition from the 2 people that you admire the most in this world, for them to give you a core value award for being a lifetime student and say, we know, it's the greatest personal achievement in my entire life. This is going to completely change my life forever. It's going to change my family's life forever. It's going to change my son's life forever. Why? Because I am going to step into the power of the person who has it change my life forever. Because being in that room with those people, with everything that I experienced, that was the sign from the universe. Man, let's go. You are built for this game. This is who you are. And right now, I'm speaking to you because I watched as the old version of me was shedded in an instant, and I stepped into a whole new powerful truth that was in a completely other stratosphere. And I legitimately feel like I was knighted because of what it did to me. That like when I walked back to my seat, I was shaking and I tried not to pass out. And I'm not even saying that with hyperbole, because it physically changed my body because of, one, how much all of this means to me. And that's both my entrepreneurial journey, my family, Arete, Andy, Ed, the group of people that are here, because these are the highest performers that I know in the world, 100 of them plus these mentors. And to be one of, I believe there's 4 people to receive this, I'm just like, this is the greatest honor of my life. And stepping into this new truth, there's just so much that I'm going to take from this. Yeah, there's the power I'm going to step into. But one of the things as a coach that I know, you cannot give to others that which you are not experiencing yourself. And I just experienced something that changed my life in an instant that literally feels like magic. That we run on belief so much as entrepreneurs. I believe. You're showing up every single day. I'm doing the right thing. When will this happen? When will this happen? And then all of a sudden, when you least expect it, at a blink of an eye, boom, it hits. And it's just like, now that I've experienced that, I'm a champion in this for you and for every single person that's out there. And there's so much more that I'm going to unpack from this, from a recognition standpoint, because they recognized me and immediately I saw the power that I have to recognize others more, to give them this gift. Because in my journey to help 10 million people, I want more people to step into their powerful truth of who they truly are. And sometimes, as I experience myself, you just need to hear from somebody else. I was definitely not short on confidence rolling into this thing, but I can tell you right now, I'm on a completely other stratosphere. This isn't even like 10x. This is like badrillion X different. That seeing what Andy created, I'm like, let's go. I'm in. My fears, my judgments, my doubts, my self-limiting beliefs. Yeah, they're going to pop up again. But right now, the things that were previously limiting me, they washed away. Because now I'm on a different frequency. There's a new story that I'm telling myself. I will build consistency practices around this to continually remind myself to live into this story of this powerful truth. So what I want to do now is break down my formula for being a lifetime student. What you can do in your life to be a lifetime student, because now that I've received this award, I'm like, all right, not that I needed some sort of credibility to share this, because that's pretty much been the last decade of my life in this podcast, sharing my systems for creating a better life. But let's really drill this down. What's this look like? Because when I'm sitting there, how? Of course, I knew how. I'm the one who's done this for the last 11 years. It was more, how in the world did they know? But now that I can reverse engineer this to help you, because clearly there's some value somewhere in being a lifetime student. So let's break this down for you. Number 1, being all in. And this is the foundation for me. So 11 years ago, quit my corporate job where I was doing digital advertising sales, making great money, didn't wake up every day looking forward to slinging banner ads and text links. So I cut the cord, burned the ships, and went all in at being a full-time creator and entrepreneur, and at the time living my dreams of working in sports. And the reason this is so important for me is because I am not working in a call center right now. And I so acutely remember what it's like to be 23 years old, living off my credit card, dead broke for a year and a half, just graduated college with a marketing degree. I finally get my first job out of college, working at a Fifth Third Bank call center, making $10 an hour in a cube farm, selling inbound home equity loans. I was Peter from Office Space. I hated my job, but but I was so thankful to have any money coming in because I was in negative dollars. It was the furthest away from my dreams that I could humanly be. My dream was to work for an ad agency, being creative, coming up with ideas, and here I am working in a cube farm. And I was like, this sucks, and I will never forget it. So my all-in-ness is because I'm not working in a call center anymore, and I am willing to do literally anything possible to never work in a call center again. So being a lifetime student for me, I see my dreams on the other side of being a student. So let's get to day one of being an entrepreneur, because this is where my life changed. And for many people, that first day of entrepreneurship is an interesting one. There's no one to tell you when to wake up, what to do, who to call, do you go to the gym, what do you eat, anything. It is completely on you. And for a lot of people, the weight of that is a lot. It's like, holy smokes, it's all on me, not me. When it got to me, because I wasn't working in a cube farm or slinging home equity loans, I was like, holy smokes, you're telling me everything's on me? I get to design every single aspect of my life? This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And because of that, something interesting happened. I became self-aware. Blows my mind. Took 32 years of my life to be introduced to the term of self-awareness. No one, K through 12, 4 years of college, and a decade of corporate America, ever told me the term self-awareness. I discovered it on my own the very first day of entrepreneurship when I realized I was in charge of every single aspect of my life. Because then the second thing happened that for some reason, and I don't know why, because I was not this person 11 years ago, I audited the success habits of the most successful people in the world, the people I aspired to be like, the Fast Company, the Inc. magazines of the world. What are the things that they are doing? And one thing just kept coming up over and over and over again. The average CEO reads 60 books a year. The average CEO reads 60 books a year. I heard it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before I said, yo, dog, listen, success leaves breadcrumbs. This is one of those breadcrumbs. If you don't do this, it's on you. It took me hearing it 10 times before I took action. And I was like, all right, the average CEO reads 60 books a year. How many books am I reading? 0. I got to get on this. So if something is important enough, you will always find time to make it happen. Yes. So when is there always time? And for me, the answer was first thing in the morning when I woke up, because there is no excuse for why it won't happen if it's the first thing that you do. I legitimately saw the creation of my dreams on the other side of learning how to read. So every day for the last 11 years, weekends included, the very first thing that I've done is read a personal growth and development book for 30 minutes a day, because this guarantees that I am better today than I was yesterday. No matter what else happens, whether I'm sick, there's challenges, I go to a Cubs game, whatever. No matter what, this guarantees I'm better today than I was yesterday. And then a little thing starts happening. So you're just sort of like an infant in adopting a growth mindset, which is brand new to me. It's like, holy smokes, you're telling me I can learn anything? So you start with like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then Think and Grow Rich, and then maybe something Tony Robbins. And slowly but surely, there'll be like a book recommendation or two in some of these books. You're like, no, I'll read this one. Oh, and then I'll read this one. Then you start to learn these things and you're like, this stuff is unbelievable. And like Neo in the Matrix, I immediately was like, you're telling me I can learn anything? This is unbelievable. This is a superpower. How could I not want to do this? And sometimes I'll even read a book. A good example of this was 10X is Easier Than 2X by Benjamin Hardy recently, where you're like, I don't even want to work today. I just want to read this book because it's so good. Well, anyways, I rinsed and repeated that for the last 11 years. But here is the kicker on this. So I learned something in a podcast interview that I had with a guy named Emerson Spartz. He said, Rob, the greatest ROI you can ever get is actually reviewing the books in your book notes from the things you previously read, because you can't be expected to fully grasp a concept the first time that you hear it or experience it. And I was like, that actually really makes sense. Because just like riding a bike, you don't ride a bike once and you're like, cool, I got it. No, you ride a bike with training wheels and then you're a little shaky and then you take the training wheels off and eventually you pop wheelies. But it's the repetition over and over and over again that creates that depth and that mastery. And so many people read, well, one, if they even finish a book, two, they get to the surface level, but I'm about depth and mastery and speed of implementation. I'm learning to do. I'm not just learning to learn it. Now let's put it into action. And there's levels to this game, like I talk about all the time on this show. So I use a Kindle to read. Why? Because I can highlight my book notes. I can export my book notes to Evernote. I can then have a consistency practice where every single day I review a specific book note from a book to reactivate it. Boom. Instead of saying I'm going to read books over again, which I still do, I can just review my book notes. So I've done that every single day for 11 years in a row. Side note, if you want a next level hack, download an app called Readwise. What it'll do is it'll connect to your Amazon book notes and it'll turn one specific book note into an image that you can share on social media. But more importantly, every single day I go through and I review 5 book notes from the 300, 400, 500 books I've read over the last decade, and drip, 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 drip. Simple thing to always be a lifelong learner, because the next thing in being a student of the game is all about consistency, because the note you're hearing here is over and over and over and over again that I've been a part of Arete for the last 5 years. So I received the Be a Lifetime Student Award by doing the same things every single day for the last 5 years. And there was a book that changed my life about this called The Power of Consistency by Weldon Long. And I'm paraphrasing here. One of the things he says is the reason that most people don't achieve their dreams is because they just don't spend enough time going over them. We're getting near the end of the year right now, and most people are going to set a New Year's resolution. And for the majority of the world, that resolution is going to be gone within the first 2 weeks, and they're never going to go over it again. It's like, oh my God, why am I not living my dreams? However, the best of the best in the world, we understand the power of consistency. So if they just don't spend enough time in their dreams, well, what is our system or process for spending more time in our dreams? Oh, well, let's just live in our vision every single day. Open up the document where you can show me your dreams and vision, and then tell me what time every single day are you reading this. And I would encourage you to check out a previous episode I did in the last few months around creating my 3-year vivid vision. It's the greatest thing that I created this year, because the first thing that I do every morning now is read my 3-year vivid vision. Then I read for 30 minutes. And then the last thing I do every single day is read my 3-year vivid vision. The power of consistency. And here's the thing. Consistency, not hard. It probably takes me 7 minutes to read my 3-year vivid vision, and it takes me exactly 30 minutes to read for 30 minutes because I set a timer on my watch every single morning. Oh, those are simple things. Then you think about, well, what else can I do? Well, I'll just check Readwise every day, 5 quick little things. That takes me about a minute. That's simple. Then I meditate for either 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's simple. Stack, 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 stack. Because the next thing is, being a lifetime student is actually about simplicity. I'm not asking you to shovel rocks. All I'm asking you to do is to stack more things in your life that you love, that serve you, that help you create more of what you want in your life. This is Lifestyle Design 101, but it all comes from the foundation of being a lifetime student. Because at any point, is anything that I shared challenging right now? Can you read every day? Yeah, just whatever amount of time you want. Can you read your vision every day? Yep, whatever time you want. Meditate, journal, working out, all the same stuff. Do one thing, do one thing, do one thing, do one thing. And then just do those one things every single day, every week, every month, every year, every 5 years in the case of Arete, or 11 years in the case of my entrepreneurial journey. So this is literally the blueprint of success. And when I say, how did they know to give me this award? It wasn't because I didn't know that I was doing these things, because my coaching programs are literally designing these things into your life. So I live this on a regular basis. So of course I know why I received it. But how did they know that I was doing this stuff? That's what blew my mind. So in the simplicity, in consistency comes routine, a reading routine, a morning routine, an evening routine. This isn't, oh my God, I got to do another thing on my to-do list. No, I love doing all these things. It's unbelievable because it has me living in a growth mindset and my dreams and more of what I want in my life. The next thing, and this is foundational, audit your inputs. Garbage in, garbage out. And early on in my entrepreneurial journey, I asked myself one simple question. It's literally the easiest thing in the world. What will help me accomplish my goals faster? Positivity or negativity? Well, positivity, of course. Negativity is going to take me further away from where I want to go. Therefore, this became a non-negotiable. This became binary, a 1 or a 0. Positivity is a 1 in my life. Negativity is a 0. Because negativity is going to take me further away from where I want to go and get me further away from my dreams. Remember, I'm all in on my dreams. Therefore, if it's negative, no part of my life. So now we get to the auditing your inputs. I've never in my life watched the news. I've never seen an interview with Donald Trump. I've never seen an interview with Joe Biden, because those things don't serve me, because I am all in on creating this life for myself and my family and helping 10 million people along the way and auditing my inputs for things that serve me. Once again, all these things intertwine. It's like, oh, I'm going to read personal growth and development books instead of turning on the news or jumping on social media first thing in the morning. Doesn't mean I don't jump on social media. It just means I'm going to invest in myself first. So the first at least 2 hours of every single day for me for more than a decade, Rob is first. The world comes second, because the second you wake up, pew, 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 the world just shoots arrows at you. Fear, judgment, comparison, self-limiting belief. Do this, buy this, all that. It's like, I know it's about to happen. Let me invest in me first. So once you audit your inputs, oh, but Rob, it's not that easy. It really is. I was never a horror guy, but horror movies aren't going to help 10 million people. It is what it is. Same with the news. It's a very unemotional thing for me. And quite frankly, it's super easy because you don't have to think about it because it's binary. The next thing for being a lifetime student, and for me, this is actually a core value of who I am. If you go to my About page on robcressy.com, you'll see I actually lead with my 8 foundational core values. And one of them is always learning. And this is essentially just wrapping a bow on everything that I just said, that this is in the DNA of who I am. So I would encourage you to do the same, because if you're always learning, you're always growing. If you're always growing, you're creating new possibilities. When you're creating new possibilities, anything can happen, because one day you just might find yourself at Andy Frisella's garage in front of a ton of supercars getting an award for being a lifetime student. I'm telling you, it happens. 48 hours ago, couldn't believe that something like that would happen, but right now I'm living it. And if it's possible for me, it's certainly possible for you, because nothing that I've shared so far is complex or challenging, because anybody can do this, because I started at 0. I was not this person, no growth mindset, no self-awareness. So there's literally no excuse why anybody else can't do it, because quite frankly, you probably had a significantly more advantage than I did from where I was coming from, where I started. The next part about being a lifetime student is being forward thinking. And for me, this has been a blessing and a gift in my life of seeing where things are going. And one of the foundational things that they've taught in Arete is we in Arete look forward out the windshield, not backwards out of the rear view. I know it's easier said than done, but it's so easy to just constantly be looking in the past, looking in the past, looking in the past. But we are looking forward. And when you're looking forward, you can create new possibilities, not judge yourself for what you did or didn't do in the past. And I think about, and I've shared this story once before, about how my life changed about 2 years ago in a conversation that I had when I was at one of Jesse Itzler's events. It was Driveway to Hell at his house in Rome, Georgia. And I previously shared that I had a near-death experience running the DC Marine Corps Marathon, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And I was at mile 25 and a half, and I passed out with a heat stroke of 107 degrees and almost died on the course. And I could see the finish line. So I went from about to run my first marathon and have a life achievement to the next 20 minutes of my life being in a near-death experience, trying to stay alive, packed head to toe in ice with medics all around me. And for the longest time, when people would be like, because I'm athletic, I'm always running races, lifting, doing things 75 hard. Oh, Rob, have you ever run a marathon? There was always this, yeah, but I didn't finish. And there's like this asterisk to it of like the near-death story, and it wasn't serving me. And I went to Chris Houth, one of Jesse's friends, who I believe is an Olympian. I believe he's an Olympic swimmer. And I told him about this. He's also a distance runner. And I was like, Chris, this isn't serving me. Can you help me with this? And what he said changed my life forever. He goes, Rob, you don't owe your past anything. And I sat there, and it was such a peaceful statement that immediately dropped the anvil from me. I had this story that somehow I wasn't enough because I didn't finish the marathon, even though I trained for it, and I had a near-death experience. And that was always the story of Rob plus marathon. It was like, Rob, you don't owe your past anything. And once again, we in Arete, we look forward. We're forward thinkers, not looking at the past, because we don't owe our past anything. So next thing here, as we're wrapping a bow on all of this, constant improvement. I'm a sports fan. Michael Jordan is my favorite player ever. Right now, I'm staring at a picture of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. It says, be legendary. For me, I'm a GOAT. I'm a one of one. I know I am the greatest version of myself. Why? Because I've earned my confidence every step of the way. I know all that I put in. As part of this, of being a lifetime student, is constant improvement. Get better, get better, get better. Because we at the top, we seek out where we can improve and get better. We all have holes in our game. I want to see the hole, aka identifying it in awareness. Step 2, being intentional about plugging that hole. Because step 3, we're going to build a better boat. Rinse and repeat. And for a lot of people, it's like, ooh, that's a little bit too hot. I don't want to touch the things that I'm not good at, or who scare me, or where I'm limited in some capacity. But when you come from a place of constant improvement in a growth mindset, better, 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 man, you just have this insatiable hunger to learn. Because the next thing, and I've mentioned this, but it's so important, it needs to be said again. Being a lifetime student is about being a master of language, because you never know when one sentence can change your life. Or in the case of me, 2 words spoken by Ed Mylett. We know, like it's validated my entire life. I didn't need the validation. We know. And when you understand your ability to hear something, 1 word, and when you are on a path for greatness, we're looking for inches. That this isn't about, oh my God, I'm sitting here watching Netflix for 8 hours. No. You and I, we're on a path for greatness. You're looking for these inches, a word, or maybe 2 words here and there, and you hear it, and it triggers a new perspective. You hear or see something differently. So you now live your life this way. That's why I love, here's a sort of a little learning hack for you. It's no surprise that I love podcasts, as someone who's published more than 1,000, who's currently delivering a podcast right now. And living in Chicago for a decade, I'd be going to the gym, I'm walking the dog, I'm on my train. Well, audit my inputs. I can either sit there and mess around with Candy Crush, which I don't do, or I can just throw on Ed Mylett's podcast or Andy Frisella's podcast, or in your instance, my podcast. And drip, 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 nonstop, drip, drip, drip. And in those instances, boom, I'm taking notes of every single conversation. Every podcast, there's always an opportunity, because I learned something back in the day in Chicago. I studied improv and comedy writing at Second City, the world-class training center, for 4 years. And one of the things that they taught us is all around idea creation. So many people get so romantic about ideas. Oh my God, I got this great idea. Ideas mean nothing. Execution's everything. But there's essentially a ratio of, for every 100 ideas that you create, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of them are going to be gold. And this was in the context of joke writing. The time I was learning writing for The Onion, like the satire website, we were learning how to create satire comedy at the highest level. And for them, idea generation is a volume game. So we're talking about like a 4% ratio. 4 gold ideas per 100 total ideas. Therefore, get the volume of ideas out. And for me, once I understood this, I realized I'm not married to any one idea, but I also know that any one idea could be that piece of gold. So once again, let's develop a consistency practice of always writing down every single one of my ideas. And then on the flip side, taking notes from every single conversation, whether it's a client call, I'm listening to Andy and Ed on Arete, or I'm listening to a podcast. So my Evernote is literally a library of the last decade of my life, of every conversation and everything that I've ever learned, because once again, we'll go back to the principle. I can go back and re-review my book notes, or my notes in this case, where I can pull out these little gold nuggets, and you never know when something is going to be valuable in the future because it hits you differently. All you got to do is search a word and you're like, oh, I didn't know that was in there. So that to me is my formula for being a lifetime student. And I'll sort of recap that. Number 1, be all in. Number 2, the power of consistency. Number 3, simplicity. Number 4, creating routines. Number 5, audit your inputs. Number 6, the core value, always learning. Number 7, be forward thinking. Number 8, constant improvement. And number 9, be a master of language. And as I end this here, 1, I'm so thankful for you listening or watching right now and being part of this journey. I legitimately want to help you. When I said to Andy and Ed, I have a goal of helping 10 million people, I did so because I truly do. And I remember when I even first put that out, it's the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life, that I was like, all right, I want to quantify how many people I help. I was like, I'm going to help 1 million people. This sounds great. But 1 million's like a number that like, it's round and everybody loves the idea of a number. It didn't really scare me. It felt comfortable. So I was like, you know what? I got to play a bigger game. I'm going to make that number 10 million people. And that's when all of a sudden my fear, my judgment started to pop up. I was like, 10 million? I was like, how am I going to quantify that? How am I going to do this? And how jumps into our brains a lot. So what did I do? I jumped on a LinkedIn Live and created a video and said, this is the most nervous I have ever been in my entire life to share a piece of content, but here we go. I have a goal of helping 10 million people. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know any of the components to it, but I know it starts with speaking it out loud, and that's what I'm doing. And that seed that I planted years ago has continued to stay there until I'm at a 5-year Arete event and I speak into existence for Andy and Ed. Because how do you be the person that helps 10 million people? You be the person who's willing to put yourself out there and say, I'm going to help 10 million people. And then you see the opportunity to shoot your shot and you shoot that shot. And you just keep going up and up and up. And you never know when life is all of a sudden going to say, you know what? We've been seeing what you're doing. We know. We got you. Boom. Here's something to put some fuel in your tank. Let's go. I ask you right now, do you have belief that I will help 10 million people? I certainly do. That's the energy that I'm feeling. And quite frankly, I'm going to look back on this and be like, man, there's so much more power accessible to you than just 10 million people. So I want to help you. If we haven't been in conversation yet, hit me up, robert@robcressy.com or Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Rob Cressy. I love conversation. I love helping people. I wanted to give you this insight into what just happened in my life. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. I have to thank Andy Frisella, Ed Mylett, Emily Frisella, everybody who's a part of the Arete Syndicate, everybody who's ever supported me, who roots for me, who consumes my content. For you, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so thankful for you for giving me this opportunity. It means the world to me. Sending much love your way. Hope you have yourself an amazing rest of the day.